Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Huge pussy is a movement to redefine the word pussy. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that pussy has the miraculous ability to birth life, and yet out of all of the anatomical parts, that's the one that we call out to mean weak. Besides weakness, pussy has been a target for violence and shame. Pussy means power. And our definition is an otherworldly, orgasmic, resilient, flexible, life-giving humanity vessel.
You're listening to Make Some Noise podcast, episode number 544 with guest Jacqueline Buckingham. Welcome to Make Some Noise podcast, your guide for strategies, tools, and insight to empower yourself. I'm your host, Andrea Owen, global speaker, entrepreneur, life coach since 2007, and author of 3 books that have been translated into 18 languages and are available in 22 countries. Each week, I'll bring you a guest or a lesson that will help you maximize unshakable confidence, master resilience, and make some noise in your life. You ready? Let's go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I am so glad that you're here. I just wanted to, first and foremost, extend a special thank you and express my gratitude for those of you that have reached out over the last couple of weeks regarding the announcement that I made in episode 540. I received so many DMs and comments on my Instagram post about it, and even text messages from former clients and emails. And I'm incredibly moved and touched by all of your, stories of being able to relate and saying, me too, I understand, and your encouragement and support. Believe it or not, even me, who does this for a living, also needs encouragement and support from other people. And I just thank you so much. Now I'm getting emotional. Also, for those of you that have booked consultations, I'm so excited to get on the phone with you and see if maybe working together is a good fit for both of us. And what I'm referring to is special coaching packages that I put together for late summer and fall. And that is over at andreaowen.com/special. One-on-one coaching since the very beginning, when I first started my training, not even when I first started my practice, but it's just been my absolute favorite thing to do. It's my zone of genius. And I'm just obsessed with it. I love supporting women privately, and it's my favorite. So I've discounted my rates for this particular offer. And so I get to do the thing that I love. It's a win-win for everyone. So if you've been thinking about working with me and haven't been able to afford it and you're feeling the nudge, definitely head on over to andreaowen.com/special, and you'll see the packages there. And there's a button to fill out an application, and we'll go from there. So thank you so much for that. All right, let me tell you about today's guest. Jacqueline came to me actually as a client many, many years ago. And well, not many, many years ago, a few years ago, I should say. And we, ended our coaching relationship. That finished up and we became friends. We are so in alignment with the work that we both do in the world. And I knew I had to have her on when the time was right. And the time is right now for you to be introduced to this woman and this amazing work that she does. So for those of you that aren't familiar with her, Jacqueline is an actress, activist, and advocate for women's health. A Texan described as having never played by anyone else's rules by W Magazine. She's an outspoken voice for gender equality and female empowerment. Nominated for the TED Main Stage to talk about the connection between female sexuality and the global balance of power, Jacqueline is an impassioned voice for body positivity and mental health. So without further ado, here is Jacqueline. Jacqueline, thank you for finally being here.
I'm so happy to finally be here, Andrea.
And I don't mean to say that like you've been eluding me the whole time. I just haven't had you on yet, but it's an absolute honor to have you here. I can't wait to get into this conversation. So I'm just going to jump right in and maybe, let's just dive into the deep end. And I'm going to ask you, what is huge pussy?
Huge pussy is so many things, but let's start with what's most important. Huge pussy is a movement to redefine the word pussy. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that pussy has the miraculous ability to birth life, and yet out of all of the anatomical parts, that's the one that we call out to mean weak.
Yeah.
So besides weakness, pussy has been a target for violence and shame. And not to be a huge bummer here to kick it off this way, but there is a reason why I talk about pussy all the time. And it's basically because female sexuality has been shamed since the beginning of time. And I look at it as a huge oversight. Because look what we were able to do with the word gay. Being gay when we were growing up was not a compliment. And now look at an entire month, thank God, of celebrations and every corporate flag waving. And that's what I see for pussy. That is the future I'm going towards, is an entire month is dedicated to the fact that pussy means power. So I redefined the word, and our definition is an otherworldly, orgasmic, resilient, flexible, life-giving humanity.
Ooh, wait, pause. Say that again, because I think that's such an important. Is that an acronym?
No.
Okay.
It's something that after and I'm sure we'll get into this, but after I was censored for using the word pussy.
Yeah.
And was told, it was offensive. It was, basically offensive and vulgar. So I was like, gosh, what's the actual definition?
Mm-hmm.
And Merriam-Webster and many, many others, the definitions are so negative. They're, it's vulgar, it's offensive, it's dirty, it's whorish, it's all of these things. And you look at balls says courage and nerve. And you're like, really? So when one of my films was in a film festival, I was taking my daughter and I was like, you know what? Let's write a new definition right now. And I just scribbled these words on a little scrap of paper. And then I actually had them turned into a tote bag, which is what launched the whole product line. Yeah, product line really, which, is a factor in the movement. And so those words are otherworldly, orgasmic, resilient, flexible, life-giving, humanity vessel.
Which literally a female vagina is all of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, if you think anatomically about vagina, we don't really have a name for the whole thing. Vulva is the name that is the most anatomically correct if we're referring to the whole thing.
Right.
Vagina is not the whole thing, right? Like labia is not the whole, like it's got so many parts. Which is why I like pussy, because it encompasses all of them.
Yeah.
Right. And we've made up all of these words, punani, everybody's got like a different kind of weird word for pussy. But I really believe that embracing the word pussy, not just as women, just as a culture, is the start of shifting the huge imbalance that we have in our world, which what I call the pussy problem, which is there's inherent shame in having a pussy. And then the result of that pussy problem is the huge disparity of power, the global distribution of power between people with pussies and people without them. So if we start, it's like, oh, how do we do this? UN Women just put out a statistic that was like, we're not going more towards equality. We're going away from it. And the pandemic actually made things worse. And then, the assault just on our reproductive rights, et cetera, has exacerbated the issue. And so that can be daunting. I mean, I certainly feel like it's a huge step backwards. What can we do about this? And the way I see it is, if we actually start by thinking about how we feel about ourselves, about how we feel about our own sexuality, people can do this in different ways. But I used my own experience in doing this with being raped and being assaulted. And, I mean, that's not unusual. Unfortunately, that's par for the course.
Yeah.
It's 1 out of every 3 women. It's, 9 out of 10 people who are raped are women.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not unique, and most of it doesn't get reported. So much of that factors in too, because that changes the way we feel. It changes our mental health. It changes everything when we have an instance happen like that. And then put that on top of the cultural conditioning that we're made to feel like we are lesser than, that we're dirty, that we're shameful. I mean, pussy has been shamed for the way it looks, the way it smells, and the way it looks. Are you kidding me? In my world?
Yeah.
In my world, pussy is everything. It's awesome. It's just like, in addition to, epic orgasmic experiences, I owe my pussy to the greatest things in the world for me, which is my son and my daughter.
Okay. There's so many directions. I want to go from how you answered that question. But the first thing I just kind of want to underscore is, of course, in agreement with everything you said. And, we can't make social and cultural changes until we can talk about the thing that we're trying to change. And I think for so long, exactly what you were saying, it's been shamed, it's been criticized, it's been considered less than, it's been, we, most of the time, I think the vast majority of us grow up feeling like it's dirty, but it's the thing that gives life. So it's confusing and mixed messages. And I do think that we have come a long way in terms of the generations, you and I are both Gen Xers, but the generations after us have been pushing back. And, I think especially women, with some men mixed in there too, some non-binary folks, pushing back on it and making strides towards making changes, but it's very, very slow. I mean, even if you look at, because when you were talking about, we get shamed for how it's look, even if you look at mainstream porn and how all of the vulvas and labias pretty much look the same. Like, there's definitely a look. It's like, okay, well, can we change that? Maybe like, I feel like the only people that are really putting the word out there are people like you and sex educators. And it's just, I just don't see, I would like to see it move a little bit faster, which I guess probably you do too.
I would like to see it happen yesterday.
Yeah.
And, so I'm actually, happy that there's been backlash against using the word pussy, because it makes me doesn't just light a fire under me to go, oh my God, it runs deeper than I thought. But also, since it does strike a nerve, it does tell me that we need something to strike a nerve in order to change. The fact that 5 letters can cause so much upheaval, has amazed me. And yet it's given me a lot of encouragement at the same time.
I'm curious about, and this sort of coincides with the Pussy Papers, which is the 17-minute film that you directed and you wrote, directed, and produced. And I know it tells a story in there, but can you share with us how you got into this work? Like, what sparked the movement for you?
Sure. I would say it was kind of a multi-step process to get me to where I am now. The thing that sparked the film, the Pussy Papers, is the fact that I was censored for using the word pussy, which I never saw coming in a million years. I did a series for Amazon, which was basically feminist films, a kind of sketch comedy series.
So funny. I had the privilege of being able to watch it. Yes.
And I love the box too. Thank you. And in that series, one of the episodes is called Huge Pussy. And it's just in a world where calling somebody a pussy is a compliment rather than a put down. That's the concept. It is that simple, and it's comedy. So I've just flipped that world.
It was like the ultimate compliment, right?
It is the ultimate. Like there's like the female head of the board, and I've got all these young, proteges, and so I'm kind of passing the torch, and I'm saying, you're just such a searching for the word, searching pussy, and all the guys are like. Right. And then we bring in all the monikers like Bikini Biscuit, Trout Basket, Zipper Muffin. Right. But pussy is like, oh my God, like, really? And so, we have the premiere. It's coming out on Amazon the next day. And I get something from Amazon saying, we're sorry, this is offensive content. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Let me just check real quick.
And there's no nudity.
no nudity,
Right.
no sex. There's no cursing. There's
no
no
violence.
So I'm sorry. What's offensive? What's offensive? And hold on real quick. Hold on. Let me just check something. Let me check your other titles. Balls to the wall, Dick, Good Dick, Dick Night, The Dickumentary, Jailbait Babysitter. You tell me what's offensive. Like, I mean, really, I don't understand. I honestly felt like I was being punked. I was like, come on, really? And that was the case. So unless I changed that title to the huge P word, I could not put that. I basically, my show couldn't be on Amazon. I couldn't realize royalties. I couldn't pay my staff, etc. So I was like, okay, all right, but let me just get this straight. Big balls is fine. So I have another episode in there is called Big Balls, where I play a testicular surgeon who's basically shaming my perfect male patient into getting, giant ball implants, which is, again, just flipping reality on its head. And that one was just fine. So that's one of the things that led me to where we are. And then after that, Big Balls was actually in the Hollywood Comedy Film Festival. And my daughter and I were going and we were walking the red carpet. And that's when I wrote down those words after I looked up the definition in the dictionary and was like, you know what? We need to write a new definition. We need to basically, put it out there. And so that definition became a tote bag with, huge pussy on one side, the definition on the other, and a huge pussy holds the future. That it got such a great reaction that that's the thing that then started the product line. And I thought, wow, this actually does feel important to celebrate pussy in public, because we don't see the word. When we hear it, we're like, but seeing it is a different experience. And the product line is, it's very simple. It's black and white. It says huge pussy.
All caps.
All caps.
Masculine font too, which I always love a good masculine font.
Yeah, it's just like it's in your face. And it's just letters. There's no imagery of any kind whatsoever, which is then the next layer of why I'm doing what I'm doing now, which is because after doing that product line and then seeing how excited people got, I started to design more products. So I was drinking my coffee out of a huge pussy mug in the morning, and I got some huge pussy throw pillows for my office. I'm wearing a huge pussy t-shirt. And I started to realize that seeing the word was changing the way that I was feeling about my place in the world, how I could be contributing to what I feel is really important to be contributing to in my lifetime. And I was like, wow, these need to be out there. Plus I was, road testing them. I was traveling a lot, and I'm carrying this huge pussy duffel bag through the Seattle airport.
Kind of like exposure therapy, I feel like.
It is. And I thought, you know what? We've got to celebrate pussy in public. So that led to really developing a product line. And I invested heavily in this, more than I've invested in anything in my life. Time, money, resources, etc. And we go to put it out there. I've got a small staff at the time. This is after months and months of work. And we go to put it out there. And every single one of our ads gets blocked by Google, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. We can't advertise a hoodie that says huge pussy on it. I mean, at that moment, I really was in shock. It was one thing to have to rename my show on Amazon, but this was something else. This was actually, for me, about the economic inequality that we have as women. Yeah. Because, I've traveled extensively. It's been really important for me as a mom to take my kids around the world to show them kind of, here's what we're dealing with. What do you think you can do in the world? And for me to be in America and not be able to do this feels insane. Because if I was in another country, I could be killed for selling pussy in public. Yes. I could legitimately be killed, which is why I feel compelled to do it. Because I can here, because I am a really proud American woman to be able to go, hey, let's do this. Let's do this for everybody. Because actually, bride burnings in India, to me, are connected to horror shamings in California. It's all the through line of being shamed for female sexuality. So that was just like, you got to be kidding me. And it did. It threw me for a loop too. It put me out of commission for a little bit. And then ultimately it made me realize how important this work is. And that, I wanted it to happen yesterday. I expected that. I didn't expect to be banned from advertising across the board. But it also made me go, okay, you know what? This is going to take a little bit more time. It's going to take more creativity, more strategy, and it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually lends itself to how antiquated our thinking is. Because if I can advertise and sell a t-shirt that says big balls on, Google ads or whatever, but I can't do one that says huge pussy. What? You kidding me? I mean, you saw the film. I tell the story of an email address getting, hugepussylife@gmail.com. This username is not allowed. Bigballslife@gmail.com. This username is taken. I was like, what? I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Even the name of my company, Huge Pussy Holdings, state of Delaware was like, no. I look up other companies. I'm like, Big Dick Rims, Big Dick Golf, Big Balls Billy, you name it. Mm-hmm. And yet I couldn't do Huge Pussy Holdings. I contested it. So I was like, all right, I tell my Texas lawyers, all right, let's go for more than big balls. Became the CEO of that, that day. No problems there. Finally, I got the state of California. I got Huge Pussy. So Huge Pussy is now a nonprofit. And our efforts are, really go towards, in the macro way of looking at it, is shifting that global imbalance of power. And it's through three things, and that's the movement, and it's media. We've got the channel, and it's the merch, which is the platform.
I love this. And it's not just about like, oh, this is a fun hobby where I'm going to like sell merch. Maybe I'll start up an Etsy shop or anything. Like, no. This is the cracking of the door to a much bigger movement and topic that you want at the conversation of, even like the zeitgeist, and just on things like podcasts and people talking about it. Because I think this is where real social change happens. And like we've mentioned, I wish it was faster, but it is what it is. Shopify's already taken the cash register online, helping millions sell billions around the world. But did you know that Shopify can do the same thing at your retail store? Give your point of sale system a serious upgrade with Shopify. With Shopify, you get a powerhouse selling partner that effortlessly unites your in-person and online sales into one source of truth. Track every sale across your business in one place and know exactly what's in stock. Connect with customers inline and online. Shopify helps you drive store traffic with plug-and-play tools built for marketing campaigns from TikTok to Instagram and beyond. Get hardware that fits your business. Take payments by smartphone, transform your tablet into a point of sale system, or use Shopify's POS Go mobile device for a battle-tested solution. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/noise, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/noise to take your retail business to the next level today. Shopify.com/noise. When you're listening to a song on the radio and you get the profound feeling that the song playing was written about you, now imagine having the power to gift that same incredible feeling to someone you love with an original song from Songfinch that actually is written just for them. Songfinch lets you create an original radio quality song inspired by your own life and the people you love. It's completely unique, personal, and lasts forever. Whether your song is for Father's Day, an upcoming graduation, wedding, or anniversary, or even just a gift to show your loved one how much you care, start your song now to lock in one of Songfinch's top artists. I gifted Songfinch to myself, a song about my late father, and I'm so excited to play you a clip.
Flipping through the slides of learning how to live and how to love, and coming undone, I father daughters without, so she writes it down.
One of my clients heard about Songfinch from this podcast, and so she had a song created for her son who is graduating, and she told me that they both cried when she played it for him and that it exceeded her expectations. For a limited time, Songfinch is letting our listeners upload their song to Spotify for free, so you and the lucky person you gift it to can listen to it anywhere, anytime. Go to songfinch.com/noise and start your song. After you purchase, you'll be prompted to add Spotify streaming for your original song for free, a $50 value. Again, my URL is songfinch.com/noise. Don't forget to share your song with us too. songfinch.com/noise. What have been some celebrations that you have done where you have seen movement, whether it's based on the Pussy Papers or just Huge Pussy as a movement in general, or even before that, like that like I like to also focus on the positive, like.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. I would say, when I see people watch the film, when I've had that experience of being with people who are watching it, that feels amazing because they feel moved and it makes them think, and it's different reactions. Because for me, this is not just about women. This is everybody. I don't care what parts you have. I don't care. I don't care what you call yourself. I don't care. It's just a global issue.
Yeah. And
so watching people have that reaction where it's like, wow, yeah, that does seem kind of simple and doable, and yet runs so deep. So I love seeing that. I love seeing that the film, as I see it, is effective. So I'm like, yay, because it makes everything that I've done for the past 5 years and everything that I've put into it worth it. Because, this is, my kids are watching me, go through this and put everything on the line and then have it all pulled away. You look at when you're a mom, when you're a person in the world, for me, my kids are everything for me. And so how I spend my time, how I spend my resources, what I do is really important. And so it's important for them to basically be like, okay, what is she doing with her life?
Yeah.
So, if you do something and then you have a perceived failure and you're like, oh my God, look what I just did. I just failed. Right. And that's the way I had a perceived failure. And now I look at it as like, oh my God, you mean
because of the censorship?
Because of the censorship.
Okay.
And now I don't see it like that at all. I see it as, this was the step in the right direction. It was just, you had to go through these trials and tribulations that will continue. And I'm up for it. Right. Like I die celebrating pussy, period. Like you can throw me in jail, but I will come out with all pussy tattoos. Like whatever is going to happen, like I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm for it for life.
This is the hill I'm going to die on.
Oh yeah. I mean, the gravestone will say pussy. Like it will, like it's literally, you walk into my house and the first thing you see is, a big thing that says, huge pussy. And it's like, what? But that's kind of the way we roll in my house.
You're clear about it. Yeah. I'm curious about what has been your journey on this, and maybe you're going to have to think back a while, but I wrote about this in my third book, in Make Some Noise, and I can't remember which chapter it was in, about internalized misogyny and how, what a shock it was for me. I think, like when I first realized I was a secret feminist, this is probably 14 years ago. And, I came out swinging, like I was angry and I'm like, fuck the culture. Like, it's all men's fault. And then after a while I was realized like, oh, I am definitely part of the problem. Like, hi, also raised in this culture that very much made me believe that I was less than, that pussy was bad and all of those things that we've talked about. I'm curious, like what your experience with your own internalized misogyny has been, and what are the things that you have done to sort of unpack it and reverse it?
I think doing this work really made me take a hard look at that internalized misogyny, as you put it. I would call it like shame, that deep shame.
Yeah.
And what I did was write, and I've been, writing for a while now. And looking at actually kind of the events from early childhood up until kind of marriage, and basically how events that can happen in one's life, when the body is shamed, the voice is silenced. That's kind of the thesis that I came up with from my own experience, and then kind of tracing that through line. So what I kind of did to address it was I wrote about it, and then kind of researched and drew parallels, kind of like the one that I mentioned, like the bride burning in India, is connected to the horse shaming. And I don't want to be a part of that problem. So basically, I talk about this in the film too, that if I've got a daughter, I've got a son. Right now, society would agree with me if I say to my son, what you have is equated with courage, and daughter, what you have is equated with weakness and shame. And so I can go, okay, how much of that still resides in me? Yeah. And, one of the things that, after being kind of shut down, with the thing that lit a fire under me back, to change Huge Pussy into a nonprofit, was in 2021 when when Texas was like, sorry, ladies, you can't get an abortion. And by the way, we're also going to give the reward for someone who turns in somebody who's going to get an abortion, which therefore basically monetizes rape. Right. That's not okay with me. So I grew up in Texas. I did get pregnant when I was 16. For me, it was a huge deal. I was, thought I was going to hell. I told my parents, but it wasn't something at that point that I talked about. And I didn't talk about it openly until now. But that shame that I had for, one, getting pregnant, two, getting an abortion, my mother was as supportive as she could be, but she was like, we don't talk about this. So harboring that shame and just looking at that, little thing. So many of us have gotten pregnant when we didn't want to and have gotten abortions. Whatever level of shame you may have felt or may not have felt, or gotten raped and not told anybody, but harbored all that shame. That's what I did, is I kind of took an audit. I did a shame audit, basically, and looked at all of those things and was like, okay, this instance, what did that do? How did that close down your voice? Now, what can you do to reverse that? And I developed a process, which I call the pussy process. And it starts with that audit of looking at how much shame we actually have that we don't even know about. And I'm sure I still have some, but I've gotten the big ones. I know I've gotten the big ones. And so sharing that and, having that conversation with my daughter about getting an abortion, about being raped, that was healing. Absolutely. She's old enough to hear it, but also to be in a world where if she was in Texas now, she's the same age as I was, and she would not have that same right. Yeah. Oh my God, do we have work to do? So that's kind of where I go, kind of the microcosm or the macrocosm, is I go, all right, I don't want to be a part of this problem because my shame will transfer to her. And my shame will transfer to my son too. Yeah. Or it could just be like my shame will transfer to, my team or my staff or whatever. So the less shame I have, the better. Absolutely. And so we've got to address it. I feel like we do. We've got to address it. We've got to talk about it. We've got to do our own, part in making sure that we're not holding on to this, what you refer to as internalized misogyny.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I should have clarified for people that don't know what that is. It's basically when we buy in, people who identify with women, when we buy into misogyny, I think we assume that we don't have it, that's a other gender problem, because it keeps us down. It keeps us oppressed and marginalized. However, we all swam in the same water and breathe the same air, so it's impossible for us not to internalize some of it. And I think the example that you gave was a common one. I too got pregnant when I was 17. I did not have the safety to be able to tell my parents. So I had to tell my cheerleading coach, which it was just like, I didn't have a soft place to land at the time, and carried it forever and still have some. And I think that it's one thing for us to talk about it with our therapist or with our partner or our girlfriends or whomever on a podcast, if you feel so inclined. And and feel better for that. I think it can be helpful. But I also think that there's so much to be said for the fact that trauma lives inside of our bodies.
Yes.
It's I'll just anecdotally, in 2020, I hired a trauma therapist who specialized in somatic work. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I didn't realize how much of it was still living inside me until we worked on cracking it open and giving it sort of I don't know if portal is the right word, but like a path out.
Yeah.
And it was not comfortable and the work is still not done. But, it makes an impact when it affects us. I think especially the stuff that happens to us at such a young age, whether it's sexual abuse or just being shamed or growing up in a very religious and conservative community or home where the messaging that we receive is very just terrible. I don't have a better word right now. It's just terrible and shaming. That is traumatizing. And
Amen.
What do they say? Like our prefrontal cortex isn't even fully developed until we're 25. Like we are being shaped and it matters so much. And I think, you and I are both in our late 40s and it's still, and consider us like we consider ourselves powerful feminist women, but still it's complicated.
Oh yeah.
And important work. So important.
Yeah. And it does. It gets into
your cells.
It does. It gets into our cells. I've, been a yoga practitioner for a long time. And I had a teacher who was an amazing woman who says, the issues in our tissues. And it's so true. It does get to a cellular level. And it's changed this work has changed the way I do my physical practice, which has mantra, movement, meditation. And so much of it is about rewiring the brain around shame.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And I went back to school for it. I went back to school and studied neuroscience and lifestyle medicine. And, that part, that's the other arm of it. It's what you do every day. It's how you're auditing even your thoughts in small ways all the time.
One more quick thing I want to say on the topic, and then I want to ask you one more question. One of the ways that I've sort of tried to process and heal my own internalized misogyny is watching out where I get caught up and believe stereotypes around women. I told the story in the book. I was with a group of women and just casually having a conversation. And I don't even remember what the conversation was, but one of the women said, well, you know how catty women are. And I was like, are we though? And it's so hard for me to not be like, well, actually. So I just said, I hear you. And what I've started to think about is like, inherently we aren't. We've been socialized to think that we are. And it's a stereotype that I just like choose not to believe in anymore. Like inherently we are caring and, never cruel on purpose.
Totally. Like nurturing, loving.
Right. And I actually did some research on it. And there is some research that says some of it is biological, so that we can be in competition with each other to choose someone, usually a man, who has the most resources. So I don't want to completely shut it down. And I hate that there is a tiny bit of truth to it. But, we have free will and we have the ability to turn that on its head and also point out stereotypes that don't have to be true.
Exactly. And that what you just said, it, is true. There is that biological that we still have that is, that goes straight to like, fight or flight, right? Things that are just that we're wired and it's around survival.
Safety.
Yes. So once you know that though, you can change it and go, you know what, that's ridiculous. I don't, I don't need to, compete for X because of Y. Like but if you don't, if you just buy into it, like you said, once you go, oh, you know how ladies are so catty. Oh yeah, totally. We're so catty.
And then we have permission to be awful.
Sure. Yeah. We've got permission to do whatever the hell we want. Like that's the point of the media part of Huge Pussy. So that was the point of the box, was to turn stuff on its head and make you go, oh, wait a minute. So I could feel really proud of the fact that I'm getting like the biggest, like mega flow tampons. Like, hell yeah. Like that I want to walk in like with swagger and be like, give me your like.
I'm bleeding this week.
Right? Like I'm fucking bleeding. Like it's going to be epic, and I'm going to have, a fountain with blood and a, beautiful pussy on top of it. Like, those are the things to me that are important actually to see. So you mentioned stereotypes. So that one thing I'm just talking about is one of the episodes in The Box, which was called Magnum Lady. And she like walks into this convenience store with such swagger and asks for the Mega Magnum menstrual flow tampons, and she's very proud of it. And she's kind of like this urban legend to these convenience store guys.
Mm-hmm.
Those things, along with, Dr. Balzac, who does, big ball implants just for her own pleasure, right?
Yeah.
To me, are the things that are silly, but change that stereotype, right? They're kind of in your face showing, hey, here's why is this so weird for us to see? Like, why does this make us kind of go like, wow, if only, whether it's like a bunch of corporate guys calling each other pussies and being, happy about it,
Mm-hmm.
or, buying the big tampons, etc. So I think the media part is really important. And you didn't ask me, but the Pussy Channel is the thing that I'm referring to. After getting censored by Amazon, I took the box off of Amazon, and now the box will live on the Pussy Channel. And the Pussy Channel is on YouTube. Thank goodness. I'm very, very psyched that thus far YouTube is great with pussy. So I'm like, yay, that's good.
The word pussy.
And I do have an advisory board now, and I've got some, people in that community, and YouTube actually has like a social impact, arm, and we're leaning into that. And so I'm excited about the channel because a lot of our content is going to be user generated, meaning, this is in the near future, basically in the next 3 months. If I say, hey, huge pussy community, what's your definition? How do you feel about pussy? What's your meaning of huge pussy energy? What was the huge pussy thing that you did today?
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to be accepting submissions and then creating short films out of those.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
I love that. I did something similar when Make Some Noise came out, and people loved it and submitted their own stories where they had made some noise in their life. And it was like all these different stories. So I find this to be similar, and I'm excited to collaborate with you. So I want everyone to stay tuned. I will be sending out an email and talking about it on social media and how we can get my community and the podcast listeners to participate, because I love that it's user generated. And of course, all these links will be in the show notes. We're going to take a quick ad break. And when we come back, I want to ask you one more question, and then we're going to talk about how everyone can find you.
I'd like to introduce you to the Minimalist Moms podcast. It's hard enough being a mom, and the last thing you need is stress from too much stuff and an overcrowded schedule. For too long, I lived with the mindset that bigger was better, and the more I added to my life, instead of feeling better, I felt overwhelmed. It was time for a radical new mindset. Less is more. I'm not into extremes. I didn't throw everything away. My brand of minimalism is more about adding than subtracting. Get rid of the excess to make room for what you love. In other words, it's about living life with purpose. I hope you'll listen in, and my guest and myself can inspire you to think more and do with less. The Minimalist Moms podcast, available wherever you listen to podcasts.
No one told us the truth about parenthood. Why? This is the podcast everyone needed before they had kids, because now that those little ones are here, there is a lot to unpack. I'm Rachel Shepardota, and I am your host for the podcast No One Told Us, where we tell the truth about parenting and let you in on all the stuff you really should have known about before having kids. I am the founder of Hey Sleepy Baby, but this podcast is so much more than sleep. We'll be diving into all the topics that you really care about and need to know while you do your best job raising those adorable tiny humans. Our goal is to just make you feel less alone and less overwhelmed. There are so many things that no one tells us before becoming a parent, and I think that we should really pull back the curtain on becoming a first-time or second-time mom or dad to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll have a little education, a little fun, and a whole lot of heart that goes into each and every episode. So join me and our amazing guests each week to hear us talk about what no one told us.
Okay, my last question before we wrap up is and it's a meaty one. You can run with it. Is what do you want the most for women? I know we talked about just like changing the culture at large, but even on maybe a little bit more of a micro level or macro level, what do you want the most for women?
Here's what I want. I want women to live huge pussy lives and have huge pussy energy. And to me, that means by living with 3 simple rules, which is 1, change the definition of pussy. That is what I want. I absolutely want every woman to be proud of her parts. So it starts with that, change that definition and do, however you address it, get into that shame and get it out of there, because more people we have that are proud to have pussies, the better we are as a culture.
Yeah.
And when I say huge pussy energy, people have said to me, like, why do you have to use the word huge with it? Like, aren't pussies supposed to be like tight and small and this and that? And I'm like,
dainty.
Right? Like that for me is like, we've been, encouraged to be tiny and deprived to be diminutive. And that is the antithesis of huge pussy. So huge pussy energy, as I define it, is like being big, living large, and taking up space. So that's very like make some noise. It's like
100%.
Let's ask, why catty, or however you want to be big and live large and take up space and question the norm. Just do it. Just don't allow that yourself to be held back. That's the part we've just allowed ourselves to be small. And that's the thing that I continue to come up against is when I continue to get censored, I look at it, I'm like, am I going to back down or am I going to become bigger? Am I going to become smarter? Am I going to become, more altruistic, right? Like, what's the challenge in there? And now my challenge is, I know my definition of pussy. I want to know yours. Like,
And what is your definition of huge?
Thank you. Exactly. My definition of huge, I mean, really, it does for me mean big. And since we use kind of big dick, big balls, I wanted to one up that.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm into like step aside, like, it's much more of like a dominatrix approach to life. It's not like we're complaining and we're bummed and here's what we need. It's more like I'm demanding this.
And big is kind of big is the type of word when I use it when I'm writing, I go to the thesaurus to look for a better word because it's just kind of boring. It's like, you can use a better word.
Yeah. But huge to me is like,
better word.
But you know what?
A better word.
That's what I want too from women. Is like, what kind of pussy are you? Are you a brilliant pussy? Are you, an epic pussy? Like what?
An evolving pussy? I feel like my podcast listeners would resonate with that.
Great. But that's too, that makes you think. It makes you kind of like, what is it? For me, it was huge. Yeah. It was huge. Like in my house, truly, we're like, well, what was the hugest pussy thing you did?
I just this morning, I was having a meeting that I knew I was walking into. And I don't know if you still get, I imagine that you don't, but I could very much be wrong. I notice that when I go into meetings with people, when it's with a man or multiple, and they're older than me, and I mean by like could solid 10 years or more, I shrink. And I fucking hate that I do that. The good news now, the celebration is that I know ahead of time that this is my tendency and my pattern. And so I give myself as much compassion as possible, because there's a part of me that's like, God damn it, Andrea, like you teach this, you should be better by now. I would do this with no other kind of category of person than with, straight men who are older than me. And so what I did was I was on a walk this morning with my dog, and I messaged a friend and I said, I'm saying this just to say it out loud. I don't even need you to reply, but I'm about to go into this meeting at 9 a.m. and my tendency is this. And here's what I am. There's like some points that I want to say in this meeting that I haven't been happy with this particular service that this person has promised me. There's been missteps and it's just been unprofessional. And I have a tendency to like, be like, well, like, I know it's hard for, just fuck no. Like the truth is this, here's my request and here are my expectations. Can you do this? And I did it, and I showed up, and I purposely didn't want to get on Zoom video with him because like, it's just easier for me to just be on the phone. That way, like if I'm in agony, I can like just like put my head in my hands for a minute but still say what I want to say in my own huge pussy energy. And I did it.
Yes. Yes. I love
it was
that.
so uncomfortable, but I did it.
I love that. I feel like being uncomfortable is where we grow the most.
Oh yeah. I say that all the time.
That's where when you're like, what is huge pussy? That's what it is. It's like something that you can access, right? And you're like, you know what? I got to step into my huge pussy energy here. That's why like the mug for me, like changed my life, because I realized when I was like making phone calls and I had that mug there and I was looking at it and I was like, this is who you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And my category was different. It wasn't kind of the older statesmen. It was actually women who I felt judged by.
Ooh, okay.
And because I came up against a lot of women who were like really the word pussy, like, do you have to use that word?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is interesting. And so now I've kind of learned, all right, I can now navigate a little bit more around whatever discomfort, is coming up for them, whatever, that's their thing.
It's theirs.
But I have to take that, personally. I'm on this mission with you or without you.
Yeah.
Whether your pussy's involved or not, like the train's left the station. But that, I think that was around kind of being liked, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right, where you're like, oh, well, I've got to be like this nice girl who is liked. You know what? I don't. If you don't like it, it's a big world. You can absolutely do something else. But there are a lot of people that huge pussy is helping and has already helped. And whether that's in, recouping from a trauma from 30 years ago, or stepping into a meeting, or just inspiring you on a daily basis to, do whatever you need to do in life, that makes me happy.
Yeah. Mine is, I don't want to be seen as difficult.
Oh yeah.
And it goes back to just being raised to be accommodating. Yeah.
Now I kind of do. Like now I don't mind that people are like, oh yeah. Oh, okay. Well,
oh, you're talking to Jacqueline?
Yeah. Right, yeah. She's a little, good luck with that one. And I'm like, yeah. Hello.
I aspire to get there soon. It's on I'll manifest it. All right. Where I know the links will be in the show notes, and the link to your YouTube channel, which is the name of it is The Pussy Papers, right? Or is it The Pussy Channel?
The name of the film is The Pussy Papers. And what I'm excited about is the film is not out yet, but we want to do a sneak peek for your listeners. And they can comment, and that would be amazing, because if you're listening to this podcast, I am sure you are a huge pussy.
Yeah. Yes. And I watched it, but I haven't commented, but I will comment. And so it's an unlisted video. So can we put the link in the show notes?
Yes, we put the link in the show
notes.
Oh,
I'm so happy. It's 17 minutes, you guys. It's not that long. Please go watch it and please comment. You'll see my comment. I will link to it also in my Instagram stories when this episode goes live. And so there's that. And then what else?
That and the Pussy Store. So the Pussy Store is where all the merch is. That's thepussystore.com. And that is for your listeners too. Buy a tote bag, get a beach bag for free.
And there's a coupon code.
Yeah, there's a coupon code. I think I put that in the email. Yes. I'll make sure I have it all.
But the code will be in the show notes.
Code will be in the show notes. And so you got the channel, which is in the show notes, but it's youtube.com/@thePussyChannel. And then you've got the store, and that's thepussystore.com. Be a part of the pro pussy movement. Yeah. Our socials, we're actually trying out. We can't use pussy on Instagram. So we're trying out some new things, and we're using actually X's for S's in the pro pussy movement. So just kind of stay tuned. Pretty much our YouTube will be the number one thing. My own Instagram will be on I get shut down very frequently. So it hasn't been the place where I hang out most.
Yikes. Instagram.
But you'll have that too. And I'm hopeful that about the pro pussy with X's on Instagram. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see. I am sending so much huge pussy energy that way. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm so glad that we finally got you on. And I think it's like right at the right time when this movement is really starting to take off. And thank you, listeners, for joining me and my guests. I'm so grateful for your time. And remember, it's our life's journey to make ourselves better humans and our life's responsibility to make the world a better place. Bye for now. Hey everyone, thanks again so much for listening. I am currently filling up my schedule for speaking gigs for fall 2023 and winter. So if you are somebody that works for a company or owns a company where you do events, you do sales kickoffs, things like that, and you need an amazing keynote speaker, I might be your girl. So if you head on over to AndreaOwen.com/speaking, you can see more of my topics and my speaking reel. And also there's a contact page there. Even if you think that, I can't afford somebody as amazing and as famous as Andrea Owen, fill it out anyway. Let's hop on the phone. We may be able to work something out. If it is a perfect fit, I am more than happy to negotiate something that works for everyone. So AndreaOwen.com/speaking.
Hey there, I'm Debbie Reber, the founder of Tilt Parenting and the author of the book Differently Wired. The mission of Tilt is to change the way neurodivergence, whether that's having a learning disability, having ADHD, being gifted, autistic, or some combination of all of the above, is perceived and experienced so differently wired kids and the parents like us raising them can truly thrive. On the Tilt Parenting podcast, I get to talk with authors, therapists, educators, and parenting experts who are committed to this mission. I ask the questions my listeners are most curious about when it comes to supporting our kids. And in turn, my guests share strategies for challenges, out-of-the-box ideas for navigating school, best practices for therapies, tips for advocating, and so many thoughtful insights on what it really takes to help our kids grow up feeling seen and respected so they can create awesome lives for themselves. I know that raising a differently wired kid can feel overwhelming and isolating, but I promise you, you are not alone, and it can feel so much better. If you're on this parenting journey, come listen to Tilt Parenting. Together, we can shift this paradigm and show up for our exceptional kids with hope, possibility, and joy.